right, good evening. I am so excited. This is Friday night. It's the time to have fun. It's all about the fun is our theme tonight. And I'll tell you, there's nothing better than what you're going to see tonight and you're going to meet. You're going to meet a gentleman who took his family. They planned it for about 2 years and they're sailing around the world in a sailboat. Can you believe that? That's so cool. And we're going to hear the stories, how they got started, some things that have happened along the way, and where they're going. So right now, let's just get started with the show. I'm Christine Campbell, your host. We have 9 at Night every weekday night from Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every night has a different topic, but it's just mainly to get some positive feedback and vibes and stories and people out there. So with that, let's get going. We got something good, something good. Isn't that fun? I am just so excited about just traveling the world. In some of our past episodes, we have been in Alaska, we have been in Greece, we have been, gosh, from Alaska down to South America and everything in between. And it's been absolutely wonderful. What we're going to be doing is I work with travel agencies, and that way they get a chance to talk about what they do. And we just go round robin and we have different ones show us different things. This happened to be a friend of ours, and I just went and asked him directly so that we can get. So right now we're going to get started because this is so exciting. I'm absolutely excited for our guest tonight. I'll tell you, there is so much when it comes to traveling the world, but the way this gentleman and his family does it is absolutely incredible. They are the Reileys. We're going to be talking with Vince Reiley, and he's going to tell us about his family exploration around the world in a very unique way, making lasting memories, creating stronger family bonds, and hoping to make their family overcome the battles of world travel, rough seas, that means it must be with sailing, and I'm so excited about that. So Vince Reiley is who we're going to be meeting with, and I'll tell you, these pictures, aren't they incredible? Absolutely incredible. And yes, that's them right in the middle of this beautiful picturesque picture. And now we're going to go ahead and meet our sailor and much more, Vince Reiley. Vince, welcome to our program. It's all about the fun on Friday nights.
Thanks for having me, Christine.
Let's talk about, I have some pictures. We'll start your story, but right now let's talk about where you ported at, where you're at.
So right now we're in Gibraltar, getting ready to, we'll make one more stop in Tangier and then the Canary Islands, and then we're coming to the Caribbean. We're crossing the Atlantic. That's going to be our gigantic challenge over the next 2 months.
You know, we're going to talk about, though, when you talk about the challenges. Now, I took sailing. I took a course at least to certify me for up to 28-foot. Cruise, yeah, cabin cruiser with my kids when they were itty bitty. So to help me remember the class and study for the lessons, my kids were there with me. I was tying the knots, showing them how, so they feel part of it. And then I just like haven't done it for all these years because I moved where the lake wasn't anymore. We'll get into this, but I am so excited to share what you do with the world, because if no one's ever sailed before, this is where it's at. Well, I have some beautiful pictures of you, and I just kind of need you to tell our story. We're going to start with how you began. So I'm going to let you tell this story.
I began in a family, split family, lived with my father and mother alternately. Really had no money to go to college, so the military was my avenue for college, basically getting me started in life. So it got me on good footing, and I ended up staying a whole 20 years in the military. So it was quite a blessing. So that's the beginning. And then while I was in the military in Hawaii is where I actually met my wife Jennifer at a church activity, and so we were engaged, got married, and I've been dragging her around the world with the military for the 20 years, and we've had a few little boats. We had a little boat when we were stationed in Alabama, and me and the kids stayed on in the weekends down in Florida. And so she knew it was always my dream that someday we were going to actually go sailing, but for some reason she just kept getting pregnant. And we ended up having 9 children, but I never forgot the dream. I always wanted to do it. And at some point, we sat down and I said, we're going to do this. Here's the 10-year plan. And we were getting on age. And she looked at me and said, you know what? Weeks later, she says, 10 years from now, let's try for 5 years. And so that got me even more excited.
Oh,
and
wow.
Here we are.
Oh, they're beautiful. Now, what is her name and where did she come from?
So Jennifer, she was actually visiting her father, who was stationed in the military in Hawaii. But she's from Orem. And before I joined the military, I was actually from Sandy, Utah.
Well, that is excellent. So close to home. What a beautiful couple. I just absolutely love it. Now, look at this family.
Yeah, that's an older picture, but it was when we were in Georgia. We still had our oldest daughter, which is on the far left, Ariel, home with us. And then pretty soon everybody started leaving on missions. But that's basically the whole kit and caboodle, all the 9 kids.
That beautiful, beautiful. And then this is a smaller.
1, 2. Oh, we are missing somebody. That was before Elizabeth. So that's a more current picture when we were up in the mountains in Utah. That's after I retired from the military. I was actually flying. I'm a life flight helicopter pilot, so I was flying for the military, and so the youngest one is in Jen's lap there. And so those 3 girls in the bottom row are the 3 that are with us sailing now.
Oh, that is excellent. You have a all-female sailing team crew. That's awesome. I love it. Let's talk about your flying. This is a gorgeous picture.
So I am passionate about a bunch of things, probably too many things, but some of the things I'm most passionate about is flying, anything that has to do with saltwater, and my family. So I try to integrate and mix those things as much as possible. Like my kids love to come flying with me. And so anytime I'm not giving flight instruction, and just want to go buzz around the sky, I'll grab somebody and make them come with me. Sometimes I have to make them come with me. Other times they're more than willing, depending on how far we're going to fly. So that's a picture of Jen and I flying down to St. George one time. And then that next picture. So I have a couple surfing kids because we actually lived in Hawaii for 3 years. So became quite proficient at surfing. So we wanted to make a surf trip down to California. So we loaded up the airplane in Utah, and I took the three, Joseph, Rebecca, and the other picture's Madeline. And Rebecca and Joe and I actually flew down to San Diego, California, near LA, and dropped the plane off, visited my father, and then went surfing for a weekend.
How much fun. You have so many wonderful talents. Now, speaking of surfing, this is great. It's hard to surf.
It's an acquired skill. It's like anything else. Sailing's hard, flying's hard, keeping your finances straight is hard. But if you it becomes the more skillful you become, the more enjoyable it is, because you're thinking about it less, right? You're just doing it. You're living your life like you're supposed to. With any aspect in life, if you have the training you need, you can do it. And this is me, and on the bottom there, me and my son John. He was my surf buddy in Hawaii, and we became quite proficient and adventurous.
I absolutely love this picture. This is excellent. Okay, now we're going to get into the beginnings of your sailing around the world. Let's talk about where you're at here, and I'm going to show some pictures.
So this picture right here it was still winter time. That's why we had sweaters on. When we bought the boat in Croatia, and to get out of the cold, we moved on December 21st. February, we started sailing southward, and we wanted to cross Greece and get to Turkey, where we could stay for 90 days because of visa issues. Stay for 90 days and get some more work done on the boat to get it where we wanted to be. So this is a beautiful bay of an island called Elaphanisis, and the water was see-through, and I mean, we were finding starfish and crabs and all kinds of stuff as we were exploring right before this picture. And then a friend took that picture for us. That's us enjoying land life. After you've been in the boat for 2 or 3 days and you hit a beautiful bay like this, first thing you want to do is get the dinghy down and go to land and stretch your legs.
Oh, I bet. This is absolutely a fun picture. Now, there's 3 youngest kids with you. Is that correct? And they're all female sailing crew. And the rest of yours, are they married? Are they out and about with their own families?
3 of the older children are married. I've got 3 grandchildren. I have a son who's serving a mission in Mexico right now, Chihuahua, Mexico. A son in medical school, a daughter in Ohio, a son married in Provo, and then another son in back in Roosevelt, where we just most recently came from.
Oh, that is absolutely excellent. Do you plan to sail around to Mexico?
No, so I don't know if you're familiar with the kitchen pass. My kitchen pass from Jennifer was for 1 year. We were going to go sailing for 1 year, and that's what we'd saved up for. Well, the whole boat buying process was such a change. It was probably 8 months before we ever moved, and so we did this adventure last June, and then you can see we're over now, and by the time we get to the Caribbean, it's going to be almost 2 years. By the time we get to the Caribbean. So my kitchen pass is only running out, and our funds, because we have fixed savings, are slowly diminishing, especially familiar what it takes to operate a boat. My dad once described it, if you buy a boat, you just got a buck that you just keep pouring money into.
And you would know firsthand. We'll kind of talk about that. You have some fun YouTube videos about that. So is this when you bought your boat?
So uh, this is this is when we bought the boat. It's up on the hard getting fixed. We put a new paint on the bottom to keep stuff from growing on it. You know, all the safety things. We had a radar installed, a new chart plotter, and safety devices. The motor was checked. The transmission was overhauled. Um, all the ropes were changed. The rigging was checked. That was just to make sure it was basically safe. And then we had a whole bunch of solar electric panels put on it, so we wouldn't have to run the engine much when we were sailing.
Oh,
So
that
that's before we put it in the water. That next picture that I sent you, that picture um, is in when we arrived in Turkey. There was this beautiful little bay. So the restaurant at the back of that bay, the owner of that restaurant had a picture of him standing next to Oprah Winfrey and Tom Hanks, who had hiked over from the mainland to this point on the peninsula. And it was one of the most gorgeous. You could see how clear that water is.
it's
Um,
gorgeous.
bays, I mean, now I've seen a lot more, but it was the first we had been exposed to. It's like, wow, this Mediterranean thing is pretty cool. But it was gorgeous.
It
That was
is.
in Western Turkey.
That is absolutely beautiful. Now, what's the length of your boat? How much living space do you guys have in the cabin area and everything?
It's a 50-foot boat, and they can actually, if they go to my YouTube channel, they can see a walkthrough tour of the boat. We show
Oh, okay.
everybody the rooms and how it's out. It's a Hansa. We really, because we wanted 3 cabins so the kids didn't mutiny and kill me themselves, had to give them space to go and just be by themselves. And so we needed a 4 cabin. And so a lot of 42 footers weren't big enough. The 45 footers, so that was the range, 45 to 50. And we didn't want to go much bigger because it gets exponentially more expensive for all the parts, things like that when they're bigger. So it's a 50-foot Honda, 2012.
Oh, wow. That's just a gorgeous picture. I love it. All right. So give us the tour of these photos.
Okay, this is so when we were in southern Turkey, again, waiting for a little more work to be, um, we wanted to take the opportunity to not miss out on, the like out seeing the Hagia Sophia,
Mhm.
one of the most famous mosques in the world, in the Blue Mosque. And yeah, it was just incredible to have been there. So in the airline tickets from our at in Finicky, was so expensive. And so we just got an Airbnb for 2 nights. We flew up there one day, got there that evening late at night, spent the whole next day touring till our legs were worn out. And we also saw the Grand Bazaar, which was an incredible sight. And then spent part of the next morning and then came back the next day to get back on the boat and continue our journey along the coastline.
I bet your daughters, I hope they're writing diaries or writing books about this.
Well, as much as they complain now, I joke that someday they'll look back and they'll tell stories to their kids about how adventurous it was. So here's one of my favorite cruising grounds was southwestern Turkey.
Mhm.
They had a culture, pre-Greek uh, culture called Illyrian or Lycian. So these are their very unique tombs. They would have these huge sarcophagi with these gigantic lids.
Oh my
And
God.
the beautiful thing about this of Turkey was that so many of these sites were undeveloped. They were recorded but undeveloped. So you could walk down site and find pieces of pottery, and you could pick up a piece of pottery and handle a piece of pottery that was 2,500 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and so a lot of these sites were just abandoned, and so they weren't built over, so they continue to remain as just ruins above ground level. You can see up above the hill, farther up the hill, more pieces of structure, little archways and doorways of huge mausoleums that used to be up there.
Oh my gosh. How beautiful. I mean, it's just the art, the history, and just knowing you're part of it.
Yeah, it's incredible. This is a little island in Greece, um, Astapalea. Beautiful, beautiful island. A castle at the top. Um, just all of the little Greek islands are so unique. It's incredible. And I might have that one wrong. That may not be Astapalea. Jen and I actually have to write things down, and that's another reason I'm making YouTube videos, because it is such a it's not a frenzied pace. It's a very relaxed pace,
Mhm.
but it's the kind of thing where your mind is filled with so many experiences. You look at a photograph, you go, "Where was that?" I remember exactly was that, and so
I- But it's a beautiful photo. It was somewhere along the time frame.
this was the beautiful thing about this church. It's a 9th, 10th century church, but you see those big columns running down the left side of the church. You can kind
Mhm.
of see they're built into the huge columns. Um, those are part of an original Greek temple,
Oh my heavens.
and so in the 9th century was built using the remaining structure of the temple. The temple still stands in its entirety, with just the add-on of the church.
Oh my heavens.
Um,
And I want what
yeah, that's
year did they make those columns? Because that's just exquisite.
that would have been it was actually a late Greek, early Roman temple, so probably 400 or 500 AD.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
yeah, incredible. But they're built into that basilica, and the basilica is an incredible monument to the architecture.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh, just
I'm
gorgeous.
actually looking now. Let's see. I'm just waiting for my map to update. Just, I'm pretty sure that was Syracusa in Sicily, but beautiful. You can go in there and walk, and when you're standing next to those columns, it's just mind numbing. Um, this was, yeah, the next picture. That temple was in Syracuse. This picture is, whoosh. Let me try. I these pictures and I'm like, where was I? That there's a huge fortification. A lot of these ancient islands are all covered with either Roman or medieval fortifications. And oh, I know which one this one is. This was just recently. This was, um, let me get my map. Like I said, Cagliari, um, in what is the name of the island? It's Sardinia. Sardinia in Italy. Cagliari is a has a huge hilltop fortress that was used up until even the Arabs, when they took over the area, used it as a fortress, and so it's a beautiful view of the bay. Um, and that was where we landed right after we left Tunisia, and
Oh,
we went up
that's
and
just
explored the
gorgeous.
top of yeah, beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous. This is our last picture, and we'll start going to your website and those other online places to have your trip. So is this at the same location?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. There's an island. I seem like an airhead, but again, it's been such a year that I keep a log of where I ate, and Jen actually has a
What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and move on to some wonderful websites that he has. And he's again on the other side of the world. So we're going to have a little bit of
yeah.
the internet situation.
Wait, this is Patmos.
Oh, Patmos. Okay. We're onto your website now at saltwaterlanai.com. What can people find on your website?
A link to the latest video and just kind of a description of what we're doing, what we're trying to do. What a lot of cruisers are very connected to the communities, and what we wanted to do is make sure that as we went around, we weren't just absorbing the resources, that we were there to actually help people. So when we were in Croatia, we actually went and planted trees for a reforestation project.
Oh,
When we go
wow.
to beaches, we try to up a bag or two of trash for every beach we go to clean up the plastic. We try to help individuals if we see they're in need, and within reason, because we do have a budget, but it's hard not to be in the community and want to be able to help the people of the community. So, if somebody needs help or somebody looks like they're having a bad day, maybe we give them a really big tip. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing out here. Besides exploring, we don't want it to be just about us.
I absolutely love it. So the website is Saltwater Lanai, Lanai. Is that the name of your boat?
It is. The kids came up with that name, Lanai, and then I just added the saltwater because we lived in Hawaii for 6 years, two different tours of one with military and one with just flying helicopters there. And so lanai is actually the Hawaiian word for like the porch. If you went out on the back porch, it would be the lanai. And so our porch is literally our saltwater porch to the world.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And then you have a Facebook page that's Saving Saltwater Lanai, same as what will they find on here? Just your updates?
Updates. I think we try to keep the Facebook more update. Probably the most updated is the pictures Jen posts on the Facebook page, and then she'll try to, we give updates and things like that. And try to give updates where we are now, and then any of the recent videos that we release, we'll put a link to the video there on Facebook.
Okay, so your wife is the one that does the posting on Facebook?
I make the videos, she does all the posting.
I love it. What
so
a
that
great...
the spices. There was a picture of spices.
Yeah, let me get back down there. Okay.
Into this one shop, and I was just amazed. They have like these gigantic barrels of just pure spice. And I wish you could make an air freshener that smelled like that, because when you walk into this store, the smell, it isn't overwhelming like if you're walking through an aisle at Walmart of shampoos or laundry detergents. It's a very comfortable, it just makes you hungry and you want to start cooking with them. It was a fantastic experience.
Oh, that is awesome. What I want to do is let's go to your YouTube channel now. And the YouTube channel is the same thing, Sailing Saltwater Lanai. And I want to talk about now a couple of things. You have these wonderful titles here on your YouTube, but this one that stands out right here is, let's talk about reality, things I hate about cruising and sailing. I can't play the video because of royalty reasons, but if you want to tell us about that, that got my attention right away.
So I wanted to make sure that people who, social media portrays, we're in a habit of, we want people to see us at our best. Well, you don't always get to see that. There's a video of a lion, they're good and they're invasive, so that's why I spear them, but their spikes have like a cobra venom. And so there's a called it just has me laying on the floor, I think, in the thumbnail, when we prepared for the emergency. but the 5 things I hate about it is basically it's not just all of the wonderful things you see in brochures. There's things you
This
have to
is
do to
Lumen.
get to some of the places you want to go.
Mhm.
You have to be able to, yeah, you have to, yeah, the bad weather sometimes to get to the island you want to. So it's not always convenient um, to go where you're going. And then some other things like, we've had outboard problems and customs and things like that, being in charge and dragging anchor. And yeah, it's you sleep differently on a boat. Um, if a thunderstorm comes and you're at home, right, you can sleep
Mhm.
right through it, listening to pitter patter of the rain on the roof. But when you're cruising, you have serious concerns. Like if the wind shifts and it pulls my anchor up, I get washed up on shore. Or if I'm struck by lightning, then I lose all of the electronics on the boat, and it may even damage the mast or the boat itself. So yeah,
Have you had that happen?
because it really is. Sometimes it's just boring. Other times it's incredibly fantastic and interesting,
Mhm.
because you get the whole gamut in the videos. We don't try to sugarcoat it and just give you the beautiful stuff.
That is excellent. Have you had lightning strike your boat? So I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. So have you had lightning strike your boat? Or
No, not yet. We
have you been like where your boat's like this on the waves like that? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
one of the videos, Jen actually comes up and she actually says, "Look, I can do this," because she was trying to cook, "or I can do this." She says, "I can't do this."
Oh my
And
gosh.
so the boat was just being crazy.
Oh
And so
my
there's
gosh.
some videos in there that show, I think the Heaven or Hell video um, shows really some of the intense uh, sailing situations we've been in. And then there's a video called the most challenging 48 hours. That's another good one. But there's a good one right there. Fun and sailing and let's see.
Right here.
Yeah. Yeah, that has some of the bad weather sailing,
Oh my gosh.
but that's a good one. But there's the lionfish one. Get to see me actually go into shock because we weren't prepared for something like a lionfish sting.
Now,
And
when you were talking
but
about
we
that,
are,
when you talked about that, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that
oh,
lionfish?
yeah. So the lionfish is actually an invasive species in the Mediterranean. And so when I snorkel, I try to spear as many as I can.
Hmm.
And before I had my thick glove, I actually was trying to get a lionfish off the spear, and he hit the side of my hand with his spikes. Well, I hit him with my hand. And, to me, it was like, ouch, that hurt. But then within 20 minutes, um, I was in shock on the and just shivering through the pain, um, because we didn't know if you immediately put it in hot water, it it deactivates some of the venom. And so I never took it serious. I never thought a fish in the ocean its spikes could be that dangerous. But now I do. I have some really thick gloves that I wear when I'm doing it, so to protect me.
Well, here's a lionfish for everyone to know what it is. In fact, I just Googled lionfish stings and how to treat them, but you don't, I mean, I'd be the same way. I don't know what to do, you know, with that. And how long did that last? I mean, you lived, thank heavens.
Within 2.5 hours, I was joking and laughing. I still had the swelling, but the majority of the pain was gone. It is pretty, and I don't think it was the venom that put me in shock. I think it was the amount of pain. I mean, it felt like somebody had put my arm through a meat grinder. Um, but it was still attached. So I had to feel all of the.
Well, it says the venom consists of the toxin, the same toxin that's similar to a cobra
Yeah,
venom.
I
Whoa.
can't imagine a cobra getting that much of that type of venom. It was painful.
Oh my gosh. Look at, and it's such a beautiful fish too.
And they're good eating. They're invasive, so people should ask for them on the menu if they're at a restaurant that serves seafood. And then, like when I catch them, I'll make them into ceviche, or we'll just fry them up.
So when you catch them, how do you keep from getting that toxin on you?
So the spikes along, there's 2 spikes on the lower fins, and then 2 spikes on the tail. Do is I have really thick gloves. I bought a new special tip that's like a trident tip.
Mhm.
So the fish sticks right on the spear. It doesn't go down the spear like what happened before. And so it's easy to just put them in a bucket and just pull them off the tip of the spear. And then when we get them to the boat with my gloves still on, I take them out of the bucket and then take a pair of scissors and cut the spikes off. Once the spikes are all gone off the fish, it's just a normal fish.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's good to know. Wow. What an ordeal. Oh my gosh. What's interesting is you lived through it. I mean, a cobra is strong venom, but oh my gosh. I bet your wife was flipping out.
First time I think she was truly worried because me always being in charge, she's like, what are we going to do? And, it was a real blessing. We had an experienced couple, sailing couple with us because their boat was broke. Or no, they had sold their boat and their boat was in Greece waiting to be picked up. So we invited them to sail with us back towards Greece where they were going to pick up their boat. And so they were actually on board and able to pull anchor and get us headed to the nearest city in case there was a real medical emergency that I needed to be treated for. And so it was really nice. But by the time we got around the corner near the big city, I was up joking with them and I was feeling like I was a live person again. It was so nice to have that
Were
pain
you
gone.
having hallucinations during that time or anything? Like what your
No,
mind said?
just couldn't get comfortable. It was just so painful. It's just it because it's a toxin, it doesn't your body doesn't just say, like a burn, once you have a burn, it kind of starts residing after the tissue starts dying. Well, the tissue doesn't die from this venom. It just is in severe pain. So the tissue was alive and signaling that it was it really felt like my hand was on fire and moving up my arm and there was nothing I could do about it. So it was just the irritation of being uncomfortable, uh, amount of pain. I'd never experienced that much pain in my life.
Wow. And I am so impressed. You're here, you're telling about it, you're laughing about it and everything. Let's talk about the overview. It's been almost 2 years since you started this trek. And what's the top 5 things that you loved about it? Let's go away from that other stuff.
We'll talk about got here, like what made it possible for us to get here.
Yeah, just the top.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so there were so many things. First of all, it was the reason. It's like I wanted to give my family an experience that we would all remember. And it's so difficult in American culture because we're so wrapped around, if we make more money, we buy a bigger car. If we make more money, we get a bigger house. We start having nicer clothes. And the cycle, the problem with that is it's a bad cycle to be in because you don't ever get freed from it. You're a slave to work, to continue to build your fake kingdom that will just perish when you die. And so I wanted to build memories. And so several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Chris Latin, him,
Yeah.
got me into 7K metals, and I started rethinking. And so by meeting Tony Hubbard, I said, Tony, you're a smart guy. You're successful. What should I do? List. And and I said, okay, Tony, I read that book. What's the next one? Give me another book. And so I started educating myself. And soon, off the squirrel wheel. You know, pretty soon I was like, I can afford to do this now, and I can afford to do this, and that's really what opened my eyes to, let's go sailing. Why have we not done this yet? Because now we can afford it. I'm not, in that rat race. And so, books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, um, Darren Hardy's The Compound Effect, Minimalism, McCune, think Think and Get Rich, and Think Like a Monk. It's just some of the books that were so impressive to me that really changed my idea of what being happy was. And so that's why we're here now, because I was able to get out of that cycle. Now that we're here, like the 5 things that I love the most is probably the first one is, here's an example. We came up Spain to get to Gibraltar, ended up motoring throughout to be able to interact. You call it interaction. I'm not doing anything. They're just coming up and looking at us at the bow of the boat, doing their little tricks and swimming around because they're having fun. But to share that experience with the 3 daughters and my wife with me just meant the world. Having seen that myself, I would have appreciated it. But seeing them enjoy it so much made it just 10 times more wonderful. And so any experience we have, seeing them grow and interact, when we come into dock now, if you've ever sailed a boat, like landing in an airplane, there's the most chaotic moment. I mean, people even have t-shirts that say, "Forgive me what I said while we were docking the boat." Landing an airplane is the most difficult. It's easy to take off and fly. It's the landing. And it's the same with the boat. When we come into a marina, you're in the close vicinity of other very expensive boats, much more expensive than yours, in teeny little spaces. And the probability for damage is so much more than if you're just out there in the middle of nowhere. And so to see the girls and Jennifer, when we come into these marinas, they all know what they got to do. They go get the fenders out. Somebody grabs the bow line. Somebody grabs the stern line. Somebody's grabbing the slime line because they use a special line here in Medmore. To see that's so the interaction of them and being able to have these experiences probably the top number 1 for me. Number 2 would be the I'm an archaeology buff, and to see the history, all of the Greek and Roman and medieval sites is incredible. 3 would probably be the different cultures. Just being able to, before we so backtracking a little bit, so before Gibraltar was southern coast of Spain and Sardinia and Italy, and before that was Tunisia. So just to walk down in a marketplace and see the people and to interact with them and to taste the foods and smell the spices I was talking about, big thing. And then another one would be probably just being there. It makes me giggle. We had spent 90 days in Turkey, and when us and those friends made it to that spot in Turkey where their boat was the closest, Stephen and I were walking, getting some boat parts. And I said, "Stephen, it's easy to forget where we are because we've walked this 20 or 30 times. Remember, we're in Turkey. How many people actually get to go to Turkey in their lifetime, let alone spend 90 days to the point where you're just comfortable walking down the street and it's, I know where I'm going now, and there's that store and there's the great restaurant and the hairdo place." So that's probably, did I make 5? There's probably at least 5 there. That's probably the top 5 things.
Oh, and those are fabulous things. I love the fact the means that got you there, and mentioning some great leaders like Chris Latin and Tony Hubbard with an incredible company, gold and silver company, But I just love your passion with wanting to give an experience a that your kids will remember forever, and your wife. I did that. I used to travel, would take my kids, and they used to roll their eyeballs. Do we have to go again, Mom? I had a radio talk show and in a major market, and spring break and summer break, they came with me. I was going to know what they were doing on those times, and we would have live remotes, radio remotes from celebrities to everything, and they'd have a grand tour of all kinds of things wherever we went. But they're going, Mom, can't we stay home? Can't we have a normal summer? And I just wait. And now they're adults, families. They're, Mom, do you remember when we did this? So I'm telling you, it happens. So I relate. I absolutely enjoyed this interview. Vince, I appreciate you taking time out in your day and world. It's afternoon where you're at, to be here and to share part of that with all of us.
And that's why, I'm not a cinematographer. I really struggle putting the videos together and trying to make them pleasant. But I'm just trying to share what we're doing out here, and I hope people can watch it. And if they don't want to watch it, I don't care. But if they do find something, we love interacting. I love interacting with people. If they want to put some comments, I'll answer their questions. We always put a contact email at the bottom of the videos in the comments. So if people want to say, hey, I want to do this, or how could you afford that boat, or how could you do this or that? It's like, you see me flying an airplane or a helicopter or in this nice big boat. We're not rich people. We just have the skills to be able to participate in these activities for short periods of time. And so I owned an airplane because it was a revenue source as an instructor. I would not be able to own it, if I wasn't making money from it. It would be an expense that I couldn't afford. And same with this boat. When this adventure is done, we'll sell it, and it will become the revenue from that will help us get back into a house. So we just traded a land-based house for a floating house.
Absolutely love it. What is the next step? Are you going to stay out a little bit longer, or when are you pulling in the anchor?
So it's hurricane season right now in the and near the equator. So what we're doing is we're staying here for the rest of the week, and then we'll head to Tangier, another place I'm really excited about, another North Africa. Tangier is a city in Morocco, and we'll get to explore it and go see some of the wonderful markets and experience. I want to get the kids to one of the big mosques so they can see what a service is like at the big mosques.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, participate in that culture. And then we'll probably stay there a week or two waiting for a good weather window, because that's what it's all about when you're sailing, is the weather really determines where you go and what direction. So we have to wait for the right winds and sea state so we don't make everybody sick to get to the Canary Islands. Then we'll sit in the Canary Islands and enjoy a few of the Canary Islands, doing some sailing around them while we wait for hurricane season to end. And then probably the second or third week of November, we'll begin our crossing of the Atlantic Ocean to probably Antigua and Barbuda, British and U.S. Virgin Islands, and then on to Puerto Rico to meet the kids for Christmas, the older kids.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I love that. I used to live in Puerto Rico, so San Juan is beautiful. Great place to port. Awesome. That is exciting. So after Christmas, are you gonna keep on sailing? You got your family sold on it, or what's going on?
I think the Atlantic crossing will be the big thing. The biggest thing is the finances. We don't have patrons, and we don't make a lot of revenue with the YouTube videos, enough to survive and eat. But that's the biggest thing, is the finances. Without a steady income source, it's hard to do that. And then, grandma wants to see the grandkids. And so that's really difficult away from the grandkids and the other kids. So when we get back, we're going to reevaluate then and see what we're going to do. But right now, probably March or April, if we go as they want to now, we'll probably be selling the boat. So if anybody's looking for a nice 50-foot boat that's already ready for cruising, It'll be somewhere in the Caribbean waiting for you to start your cruising adventure. And we may sail it back to Texas, North Carolina, wherever, and there we're in things go as we go along. The Atlantic crossing is the biggest challenge, and by then I may have mutiny, the crew mutiny, and I may be on a desert island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and they'll continue without me, and whatever. So we'll have to see.
They'll appreciate it later on. I just know that from experience, but I absolutely love what you're doing. And I'm going to tell my son about your selling of your boat. He travels the world with his family all the time. And I said, you got to watch this. So you may have a buyer. I will get with you, but thank you so much. I love it. And let's just give the website out. When I post this, I'll put all that on there, but let's give that website out coming from you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. And Vince, you're absolutely incredible. We appreciate you. And isn't that exciting? You got to start setting your maps up and get this started, seeing how you can at least take a sailing course. That's just what you need to do. And with that, it's a wrap. Now, I just want to mention that we have 9 at Night, again, mention this every weekday night. It's all about the speech is on Monday night. Tuesday night, it's all about the royalty. And these are senior women queens, over 60 that are in pageantry. We have Wednesday, it's all about the talent. It is a wonderful variety of talent. Thursday, it's all about the money. Many different ways you're going to learn about gold and silver. And Friday night, it's all about the fun. I just absolutely love this interview with Vince. And there is nothing like being on the water and just flowing in the breeze with a beautiful sailboat. So I absolutely am excited about what they're doing. With that, thank you so much for watching our show. You are amazing. And we'll just see you on the next 9 at Night. Remember, it's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday night.